Hello, and welcome to Shades of Pleasure, a podcast celebrating pleasure, sexuality, and the vibrant, inclusive spectrum of love, gender, and relationships. I'm your host, Mo, and with me are my co-hosts, Melissa, Wayne, and Kelly. And together we hope to dismantle tropes that no longer suit us and change the narrative towards more authentic living.
Welcome back. After the holidays. Oh, yeah. And we got Zoe today.
You what?
We have the baby today.
Oh, nice. Hi, Zoe.
What's going on?
What's happening?
Yeah, she's supposed to be hanging out in the back and doing her own thing. Yeah.
Nice. How was the holiday? We can pick up from the last episode where you all talked about some reservations about going into the holiday and introducing your other partner, Nisha, to Melissa's family. How was it?
Yeah.
How did it feel?
I think overall, for me, overall, it went well. Yeah, I think it went good. Glad to be on this end of it now. Although only about half or less, actually less than half of my family showed up that day. So we still have, some more of that to look forward to, or more of the family to meet Nisha.
Like an integration, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we got more of that. Sorry, one second.
Tell her to come on the podcast, Zoe.
Right, yeah.
So come and tell us what's going on with you. What is she doing? She's so quiet.
She was supposed to be quiet. She was supposed to be hanging out, on her on Melissa's phone today, watching the video, but yeah.
She's playing PBS Kids games. She's doing hair.
Oh, how old is she now?
She's 3. Yeah. So, what was I saying? Yeah. So we have to do more of that. Yeah. More family meeting her soon. Don't know when. But overall, it went well. Definitely a lot of learning experience. So that was good. Yeah. My family was supportive overall. There was few people that I think took it harder than I guess knew would happen. But even still, nobody was like disrespectful or rude. Nobody like outcasted us. And we did have a couple of people who who said that they, were going to not show up. Just because they were like, I don't know, figuring out where they, how they all felt about it and what it meant for them and all that good stuff, which was fine. But I'm glad that, we all talked about it ahead of time. I literally called every single auntie and uncle prior to Thanksgiving and my grandparents. Well, my grandparents already, my grandmother. Yeah. And to just give them, just let them know, just give them a heads up. Like this is because some of them didn't even know, Wayne had a girlfriend. Some of them, I think almost everybody didn't know that they were expecting a baby. And so, yeah, it was quite the experience. And, it was, again, overall positive. I think the biggest thing was like people were just concerned, for me, for the family, for everybody, and just making sure that everybody is okay. I mean, and everybody had their own unique ways of expressing that, of course, not to make it all pretty and sugar-coated, but yeah, people had their own unique ways of expressing that and asking questions and, giving their thoughts and stuff. But I know me personally, I was able to receive it all. It's like, they're concerned, it also challenges their, their whole world viewpoint and, um, okay, viewpoints on relationships and marriage and family and extended families and things like that. So tradition and all of that.
Yeah.
I'll let Wayne.
Yeah, what was it like for you, Wayne? Because I remember last time you saying that you had some, like, the family judging you, right?
Hmm.
Kind of like fears around like how they see you as the husband, Melissa's husband. So what was it like for you?
So for me, it's so much other things that came up for me. It made me just kind of, again, I don't know. I think I started, what I'm able to do now is when I encounter things like this, I'm able to pull out and just look at the bigger picture of society. Like, why are these things such an issue, right? And because like it wouldn't, because if you look at the situation, you would think that, yeah, why does someone else's relationship bother other people so much? It
Yeah.
makes no sense. Like, oh, I'm offended that you're in whatever type of relationship you're in, or I'm offended with whoever you're dating, and I feel like if as long as it's not abusive and as far as physical or mental or emotional, like, and the person is happy, like, why would you, if we say we love people, why would we not be happy for those people who are choosing their way of loving, right, or being? And so it made me, one thing that came to my mind, I was kind of making a joke about. I was like, oh, obviously everybody didn't know they had options in relationships. How they gonna be mad that I exercise my options? They didn't know that options existed. you know, but yeah, for me, I think my experience was, I was apprehensive at first, because of so many other things that were kind of involved in it. And, at the same time, though, I didn't want to ever feel like, you know, we can't, the kids can't be around family, or family can't be around us, or, all those type of things, because that would be unfair for everybody. Like, everybody suffers in that case. And so I was like, okay, it has to be a way that we can kind of figure this out. And so when Melissa and her mom talked to her family, and so I would say half of them showed up, out of the siblings, and the other half didn't, and that was okay. And it's not that everybody, even the people who didn't show up, all the people who didn't show up weren't against it. So it was like, I think it was more support than I had anticipated. And I was actually happy with that. And we went and we had a good time, and it was comfortable and relaxing. And I think everybody welcomed Nisha, and another thing that came for me is that, oh wow, like, and I know, I get it, right? That, you know, and it's not to downplay anything. I do recognize and understand how hard it is for people to come out with their sexuality. I do. I know that's, can be, oh my gosh, like, all the things that come along with that. I guess maybe for relationship status, I didn't think it would be as intense, you know, and I've come to realize that, man, relationships in themselves can trigger people in so many ways, and that was, I think, back to my point about, like, why do people's relationship style influence others, or trigger others. So, and it's like, I guess it was just more so eye opening for me in that sense. Like, oh wow, I figure I just put it, when we put it out there some years ago, and we're non-monogamous. You know, it was cool. It wasn't a big response, so made me know. Well, this is what it made me know, is that it's easier in theory than it is in actually practice. Like, people can theorize, like, oh, okay, cool, they're doing this thing, like it's whatever. But if we see it, it's like, oh no, I see it now. It's in my face. Like, how dare you do this? But you've known for 5 or 6 years now that we're non-monogamous. Like, I don't know what shifted or changed, with that. And so it was kind of more or less like that for me, and just the whole, so many other thoughts that came to my head. But I was able to recognize that it wasn't even about me. Ultimately, it wasn't about me. Had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a bad person, or I'm not any of those things. So, and when I was able to do that, I was like, I'm okay. I'm okay, because whatever is coming up for them around this is things that they need to figure out for themselves. Has, like, I'm good. I'm okay. And once I was able to do that, honestly, I showed up and I was like, hey, just like, just myself.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was like, a couple of things came up for me. One, when you mentioned it to them 5 or 6 years ago, they can make an assumption of what non-monogamy looks like. Like, they might be like, oh, once a year they go to Cancun and they hook up with people, right? Like
Exactly.
they can make this assumption around what non-monogamy means, and they probably just are like, oh, he gets a hall pass once a year, or they go play together, right? Like polyamory is a completely different beast than monogamish, right? Like we're talking kind of two ends of the spectrum when it comes to non-monogamy. And the other thing that you said, oh, I lost it. I don't know. You said something else, and I had a
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, I had that too, Mo, and like and as Wayne said, and not and then so not only to like now maybe have a different understanding, or I don't, or what do you call it, example or idea of what our non-monogamy is, right? So more than just like you said, just hooking up here and there or whatever, like our own, whatnot. Now, but then also to see it now, to to be somewhat I don't say involved, but you know what I'm saying? Like now, as some of my family said, like now we're bringing it to the family, or now, you know what I'm saying? And now it's in front of them. It's no longer this like discrete private thing, our private life or our private sex life, as they might think is, now it's like every day in their face and whatnot. And that I know is a thing too. The other thing is that, and I'm not saying this specific to my family, although it definitely is, inclusive of them. But just in general, when you had mentioned like, oh, as long as, it's not abusive or it's not all these things. I mean, but the reality, is that a lot of times it is like what we do see in our families, it has been from abuse or from, unethical
Poly under
practices.
duress, or yeah.
Yeah, and things like that. Like, especially women, like, women just kind of putting up with things and whatnot. And so, as hard as it was to, have these conversations with my family and, and like try to, not be super defensive or whatnot. Like I get that part, too. Like we are the only example of something outside of like something not, not ethical or abusive or things like that happening. Like there is no other version of this
Yeah.
in my family, at least. And so,
And in
yeah.
most families, and I think, the concept of, well, they're just jealous comes to mind, right? Like, but I want to break that down because I think that like what it takes to be, like harmoniously, I don't want to use the word ethically because I know that Wayne doesn't like it. But like I know that a lot of people are pushing back on the word ethically non-monogamous, but harmoniously non-monogamous, right? In order to be harmoniously non-monogamous or have honest non-monogamy takes an inordinate amount of work on the couple that's opening up, right? Like in terms of um, communication. Let's take communication first off. Like the level of communication most people are having in their relationship, it does not include the ability to share what's really truly happening for them. Like, I'm attracted to this person. I think this person is cute. This person made me feel something, right? Like, most couples can't even have those conversations. So, like, where y'all are at with your relationship is profoundly destabilizing for people because it shines a light on where most people are at and what most people are missing from their relationship, that connection, that the very deep, intimate, scary honesty and communication that so many couples can't do, that so many
Yeah.
couples struggle with. Just as relationship coaches and therapists, we know that they come into our office without even talking about
Yeah.
non-monogamy. So,
Yeah.
so I think it really shines a light on that, like that weight of relationship where you're in a relationship with someone that's supposed to be your lifelong partner. You can't share these very like intimate details about yourself with them. And I'm just assuming that you two can, but like even like for us it's a journey. right?
Yeah.
Even for us to dismantle some of those, like telling, our primary partners that, oh, I think I like this person, or, oh, sex with this person was really amazing. Like those things are off the table in most like not, most monogamous relationships.
Yeah. And, and this is not to single out Melissa's family because my family's the same. And actually, majority of families that I know kind of fit this model that I'm about to, kind of fit within this space I'm about to speak about. Like, the truth is, you can go to most people's family reunions or special holiday gatherings, and every couple of years, partners have switched out several times. Like no one, for the most part, hardly anybody's, maybe one or two people in the family have a long-term relationship. Everybody else is kind of in and out of their relationships, in within my family, I can say this, and somewhat in Melissa's family, like me and Melissa, the longest standing relationship of almost 23 years now, and so, I think that says a lot, and for me, it's so, it kind of like makes me think like we why aren't we the example of a stable relationship?
Right.
Why
Right.
aren't we the ideal or the thing to work towards in B? And so yeah, so for that, it's kind of, I guess. And again, looking at society, that's what the part is. It's not even Melissa's family; it's the society in itself. Just frustrates me in that manner, because it's like, man, we push monogamy so much, but it's more serial monogamy than anything. Because even though these relationships aren't lasting, you're still supposed to find one person, and every person you find is your one, right? Every person you find is your long-term, forever relationship lasting. Every time someone gets into a
For the
monogamous
next
relationship,
3 years until
right?
you
Yeah, until y'all break up and it's no longer working, and
right.
because again, and then I hear the thing about, and sorry to jump on pivot, and I'm gonna come back because I even hear the thing about, oh, people don't want to commit. This is a hell of a commitment. like this is a 20, we've committed for 23 years at this point now, and we haven't gone anywhere. And so that's pretty committal to me. Like I don't, yeah, I don't see other,
Committed as it gets, right?
right. I don't see many other committed relationships to that extent. And so it's not that we have a problem committing or anything. It's more so that we're uh, what I recognize, especially learning from Melissa, we're choosing our autonomy. We're choosing, to be honest with our partners around our desires and fantasies and things, like if we're tired within a relationship, like right now I'm just like, I'm feeling stuck in our relationship. I don't want to leave the relationship. At the same time, I feel like there's something else that I need to be doing right now. And it
We're
may not.
going with we're allowing the natural flow of
And
our
even
relationship.
that is a hard conversation to have, that like I'm feeling stuck in our relationship right now. I don't know what I need. It might not even be about another person or needing something, from someone else. It could be around your career. It could be around the place that you live, right? Like all of those conversations are, a lot of people aren't having them, right? And so learning to have those conversations is, I mean, it's the first step if you're going to open up also, right? As
Mm-hmm.
coaches and counselors, we know that that's what at least that's what I teach, right? The first things first. If you're going to open up, you're going to have to learn how to have these conversations with each other.
I think I mean, that and what you said earlier, Mo, I feel like those are the reasons why somebody like us, why we, not only say can't, but why it's harder for us to be, like you said, the example or a model, a positive model, because it brings up hard things. You know what I'm saying? Like for all the reasons that Mo said, like it feels counter. It doesn't feel good, at least initially, because it does bring up, and I think it's spotlighting all around, like even back on us, there's something that I learned and realized for myself, having gone through this experience, was like, um, it was hard. I found myself at first like really giving a lot of explanation, or like, which felt right to me in the moment. But then as I went on and on and on, I think for me, I was like, I don't have to explain myself, you know. I mean, I want to be open to conversation with people as I'm feeling okay to do that. But I think at first I was feeling a little obligated. I was feeling a little bit like I had to defend or explain it all or give all of the details. And I realized like we have been together for 23 years. There's no possible way that I can give it all
And
to
if they want
them.
to know about a non-monogamy, they can read multiple.
Right.
There's so
Yeah.
much.
And not even, and that was the thing, Mo, not even about non-monogamy, because really, and I even told one of my aunties this, I was like, listen, I'm happy to one day, not, you know, it's not gonna happen today. I'm happy to one day like go like let's grab some tea together, let's, you know, have a drink or something together, whatever. Let's chat it up as auntie and niece about relationships, you know, in general, overall, because I found myself like wanting to, you know, like, okay, but give all the nuances of the things because it's like a trick question. It's like people ask, you know, and you're okay with this? And are you happy? Are you guys okay? And all it's just like such a what do you call it? Limiting question. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't even feel like it's the right question. It's just like, and I get why they're asking that, but it doesn't come with like, you know, an easy just answer or whatever,
Yeah,
you know. And so, but that's also me. Like I know I tend to kind of be mm, like I said, I need to give more and explain or whatever versus just being like, yes, we're good. You know what I'm saying?
I
And that's
love
what I started to do. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm good. We're
this.
good. There's no issues here.
Yeah.
And
Well,
but
people
because
are
the
coming
reality
from.
is that there are nuances to relationships. There's so much like there's you know what I'm saying? Like because I also I think what I was trying to prevent to do is, you know, this is just me again. You know, me and Kelly have this thing because we're always the ones who are trying to balance things out in here. But it's like I also don't want to I wasn't wanting to paint this picture that like, oh, we're just all good over here and happy and there's like no problems and no issues here because I don't want to give off that, you know, deception either. And
Yeah.
because I think again, that's what sometimes monogamy can have us do. And so, but at the same time, like that moment, you know, preparing us for the holidays wasn't the moment to have all of the conversation. And it's not even a conversation, one conversation to have. It's more like, hey, if you truly genuinely want to talk about the depths of relationship, like I'm happy to do that over time through our own relationship. You know what I'm saying? As uncle and niece, as auntie and niece, you know, as father, daughter, mom, you know, things like that. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, it just so that was a learning experience. And if I had to like give any advice, I would I would
You should,
tell
you
people
should
like
have a workshop for your
I
family.
know, right?
Here's
I would
how our non-monogamy works.
Yeah, I would tell people like don't feel pressured to have to give it all to your family, you know, and explain yourself and defend
Yeah, I'm glad
yourself
you
and all
came to
that.
that
It's hard
conclusion.
not to,
Yeah,
but at the
yeah.
same time,
You
like
can live
okay not
by
to.
example,
Yeah,
right? The two of you
exactly.
are a living example. You don't have to explain it. People can see, right? The
Mhm.
way you interact and love each other, the way you love your
Right,
family, the way the kids are around you. It is
exactly.
all out there for people to see. You don't have to do any explaining.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely wanted to defend all the things. I was ready to initially when Melissa first came to me, I felt it frustration building up in me. I felt the irritation, all the things, the some small parts of anger, just disappointment, you know. That's when I had to kind of like, you know, it's not about me, but yeah, I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to go in and say all the things, and I was like, and you know, again, that's why I just say I'm non-monogamous, so then people can ask me, what does that mean? And then I can explain to them, like, because you said, like, you know, when you talk about like, because you say poly, and then some people already having this associate you with certain types of whatever, right? For whatever reason, because they have this image in their head of what poly or what swingers look like, or just all the things, right? And so for me, I had to kind of like take a moment, you know, because I felt myself being frustrated with Melissa, you know, it kind of like you know, kind of like you didn't defend us. You didn't, you didn't tell him all these things.
Why aren't you educating Melissa?
Right. And again, that's not Melissa's solo job. That's not for her to do that by herself. Anything, I granted it's her family, but at the same time though, because, and what it almost comes out, what I learned, I feel like I learned from this experience is that it almost feels to me that your initial conversation with people, because I feel like people want the parts about, yeah, it's tough, it's hard. See, I knew it. Yeah, why are you doing it? They want those parts, right? So it almost feels to me that you got to come in kind of really sure of yourself and confident. Like before having the conversations of nuance, your conversation off the top has to be very assured. Like yeah, I'm sure this is what I want. Yeah, this is what I want. I'm choosing this. Like yeah, I am whatever sexuality I am or whatever relationship style I am. This is who I am, and I've known this for a long time. And yeah, I'm not in a phase or fad, or it's not just a passing thing. This is who I am, and I hope that you can accept that part. Now, to her point, like if you want to have a conversation about what does that look like, or all the other things that maybe like, and if it's in a curious way, I'm more than happy to have that conversation. But I'm not here to explain my sexuality to you, or my relationship, defend my sexuality or defend my relationship to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I think I understand what you're saying. Like, I'm happy to have a conversation with you about it, but I'm not here to defend my choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because anybody, I think people just, again, they'll try to find all the things to tear it apart and to make it seem like you're doing this, especially, and I think that people can get afraid or feel scared when people start to bring in religion. Like, well, and I'm like, and I'll tell people like, well, that's not my perspective, and we can't assume that everybody had the same beliefs as you do. So because I don't have the same beliefs as you, that doesn't even, like doesn't register for me. Like.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just kind of to comment about the serial monogamy thing that people do. One, they hop from one relationship to the next, right? Which is a form of non-monogamy in religious terms, right? Because monogamy, I think, and like if you look in the Bible, like monogamy is supposedly, haven't read the Bible, so don't quote me, but like monogamy is supposedly one person, right? Your whole life. And serial monogamy is not that. So it's like this socially acceptable version of non-monogamy. The other thing that people do with the serial monogamy piece is they rupture, right? They fight. They don't learn how to resolve issues. They don't communicate what's really happening. They just bounce, right? They just bail. And so no one's accountable. And then they're repeating the same patterns over and over in the new relationship.
Yeah. So nor am I a Bible
Expert,
right, right, yeah. But at the same time, I think that people forget that people in the Bible had many wives. Like I wrote a whole paper on it. It's several people in the Bible who had, who were in multiple relationships, and I was like, man, like, are we going to just like not acknowledge that was existent in the book we're referencing right now, or so are we going to omit those parts? Like. Again, it's nuanced, right? It's nuanced. There's so many parts of this. Like, we're judging something based off of what we have a thought about or idea about. And to your point, we don't have the educational information about because we haven't learned about it. We haven't researched it. We haven't, we don't know anybody who, for the most part, a lot of people live in secrecy. So it could be your next door neighbor, your best friend or one of your siblings could be in these type of relationships and you would never know because they're forced to live in secrecy, and so again, it's nuanced. And I think that again, just like with anything, trying to educate yourself around something and learn about it takes away the scary parts of it. It makes it more acceptable or palatable. It's like, oh, wow, that's not what I thought it was. It's not, it actually has a lot of love involved. And, like it's a community, like how can a community be a bad thing when it's all around positivity and working towards a common goal, for all the people involved, And when you brought up kids, I even thought about that. I was like, man, like to your point, like, yeah, our kids are all excelling in all the areas they're in. No one is, And I think that is a direct reflection of just a loving home, coming up in a loving home, caring
Yeah.
home, nurturing home. We're all here. It's all like we're all on board to help each other out. And, all examples of, I told somebody the other day, I said, man, I feel like I'm putting great humans into the world. Like I have a whole team of humans that I'm ushering into the world to expand this loving idea and way of being in this and able to hold space and care for others, who are, because again, we're all existing in this human experience, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you both of you are putting great humans out to the world.
Oh, without her, yeah. Oh my gosh, like yeah, she is the anchor in all of this for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else did I learn? I learned, I mean, you mentioned something about people's initial reactions. I learned that too, of like, not to take, like that people's initial reactions aren't their final reactions, so not to, kind of take that and what am I trying to say? I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but that they can change, and that can be just their initial reaction.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good reminder too. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like and a lot of times they're like, well, doesn't it feel this or don't, how, like those questioning your choice questions can actually like stem from them just trying to understand,
Mhm.
And obviously, I echo the sort of like sentiment that it's neither of your job to educate or you don't own your family members or anyone for that matter, anything. You don't have to talk about it. But if we take ourselves out of it and we look at it from their perspective, like that, it always comes back to that for me, because so many people are out to lunch around the reality of their relationship, whether it's monogamous or non-monogamous. They're all living delusions in this delusional reality that their partner is never going to cheat on them, that they're, or that they're happy even. And um, happiness is something that we cultivate, and you can choose happiness in monogamy 100%, but it requires work, and it requires you to take that delusion rose-colored the glasses off, right? Like I was married to someone whose mother used to say, don't I don't ever I'm gonna screw it up, but like I don't ever say what people are gonna do with their ass. Right. So, and you just don't know what someone's going to do with their ass if you're monogamous. And like, if you're non-monogamous, there's an opening to say, I don't know what you're going to do with your ass, but you can always come and talk to me about it.
Yeah, yeah. You just made me think about something. I always hear people say, I couldn't do multiple relationships. I couldn't do non-monogamy. It seems super complicated. It feels like it's just a lot going on, and I couldn't do that. It's just too much. And as you were talking, and I thought about monogamy, I was like, wow, like I I couldn't do monogamy.
Yeah.
I couldn't not I couldn't feel comfortable with not sharing all the parts of me, my desires, my wants. I couldn't, it wouldn't feel good to me to not be able to speak about, ask about these questions or bring up things that feel hard because, because we're not supposed to have those thoughts. We're not supposed to, that would feel really restricting to me. And I'm not saying that all monogamous relationships are like that. It's the ones that I've been in and the ones that I see my friends in, like,
Well, there's a default,
yeah,
right? An
yeah,
easy default, because you don't have to talk about those things,
yeah,
right? Like, so you're like, well, I don't have to talk about it. So why put myself in an
yeah,
uncomfortable
yeah,
position?
yeah. And the truth of the matter is, and this isn't to throw anybody under the bus. I have a lot of male friends who are not ethical in their relationships and their marriages, and I know a lot of them, and so that in itself, lets me know that obviously there's something that they're not getting or receiving, but they can't have that conversation, you know,
Yep.
and that would again feel really hard for me to not be able to have that conversation,
Yeah.
you know.
Sure.
Makes me think about our good old conversation about fear. How it always comes around to that. Um, I mean, because like even like what you just said, Wayne, of like I can do monogamy, right? Imagine like being monogamous and then hearing that. Like it's almost the same, a similar like dynamic happening or thing, like thing happening on the other end or whatever. It's like even with us, even being non-monogamous, because the world isn't predominantly monogamous, and we're kind of like the outcast doing something different. Whether you're on the side of monogamy and non-monogamy, like spotlighting your monogamy, and whether, or you're on the side of non-monogamy and you're outcasted and you feel like you have to defend yourself or whatever the case, like, it's just all around spotlighting. It's
Yeah.
everybody's, fears, it brings up shame. It brings up, to all of our own insecurities and things like that and questions and whatnot.
Mm.
So I don't know. That's
Mm.
just how I see it. Like in the same way, we also, you know,
Yeah.
sorry, in the same way that we get a little bit defensive or we are like, hey, I mean, the same thing is happening on the other end. Like we're all kind of just like, we don't want to be wrong and we don't want to, fuck up. We don't want to lose things and we don't want to be like, yeah, all these things. So.
Mm. And I say to that, newsflash world, things are shifting and changing, and we got to be, and we have to start to recognize that that shift and change is happening, regardless if we want it to happen or not. They did a survey. Well, first of all, the Pope just put out a 40-page document talking about how polyamorous relationships are ruining a lot of things in the West and all this type of. So for that paper to be created, it must be a thing that is starting to grow, right? Starting to be recognized. They just did a survey of 7,000 people. I think below my son's generation, below your generation, they asked them about how do they feel about open relationships, and 60% agreed that they would be okay with open relationships. So again, the shift is happening, and I just found out status, and this is off this, but only 10 to 15% of the world now is made up of white people. Like again, like, these are things that people don't know. Like these things are happening. They're shifting and changing, and are we okay with this change? And what does the change look like for us? Like things are like they're not stopping.
Things are happening. So get on board, or you're gonna just be flustered in the wind.
Yeah, you're gonna continue to be frustrated. You're gonna continue to be disappointed and upset because you're gonna start to see these things out in public. You're gonna start to see people walking around. You're gonna start to see them on your television, on your social media. It's not like it's not already there, because it is. And this has already been happening for years now. Like it's like, okay, so if it's happening, let me learn about it. The same way when gay marriage is passed, right? People start to have to shift their way of thinking and being around it, and had to start to inform themselves. It's the same thing. Just I would tell people, just to get informed. Understand what it is, what it looks like. It's not this thing with you. It's not this cultish thing that you've seen back forever ago. It's so different. Not to say those things don't exist, but again, there's bad everywhere, right? And so I just think that just educating ourselves around what these things are could be so helpful for everybody.
Well, more and more people are waking up to how we have been oppressed, right? How capitalism has oppressed us, how the patriarchy has oppressed us, and monogamy is part of that oppression, right? And people are just starting to wake up to it. Like it's going to just become more and more as people start to question the 9 to 5. People are questioning all of the things that the three of us grew up with that was just normal, right? Like we were expected to get a 9 to 5. We're expected to get married to someone of the opposite sex and stay married to them forever while we stay at the same job forever, right? Those were things that we were all raised with, and no one believes any of that anymore, right? And the people that do are, naturally older than us, your aunts and uncles, Melissa, and that's because they had to follow rules and they didn't question them, not in the way that our generation did, and certainly not in the way that generations after us, like your kids, are going to do. and we're seeing such a movement towards, people really just being like, I'm not working a 9 to 5 job. People are influencers now. Like people can build their own businesses on social media at 16 and 17, right? Like the world is changing. So if you don't have to have a 9 to 5 job anymore, why the heck would you be in a monogamous relationship?
Yeah. I wish that, and this is probably the person who, oh my God, I wish that Melissa's family knew that side of her. Melissa questions everything. She's like, her pushback, whenever I have something, her pushback is, but why do I have to do it? Why is it like that? Why do I have to do it like that? Like, yeah, why does that, is what makes it like that? It used to be frustrating to me. I'm like, because it just is, but it's not. The truth is, why does it have to be like that? Why is it like that? And that's her. That was, oh my God, she was the best at that. Every time I remember feeling myself get frustrated, but I was like, you know what? She's absolutely right. Yeah, I am trying to maintain the system. I am trying to uphold the culture or
You're
the way of
complicit
being.
in your own oppression, Wayne. And your wife is over here like, why are we doing this?
She has been the biggest proponent of that in our relationship. Like, oh my God, and I love it because it's helped move us so much. And I don't think her family knows that side of Melissa, that rebellious side of Melissa, that pushback side of Melissa, the side of Melissa that wants to be different. Not that
You
she
know
is.
now.
Right. It's not, and it's not that Melissa's trying to be different. It's not like she's like, I want to go against the grain of going. It's just that this is not. I am not this norm. I am not the same.
I'm
That is
not going
not
to
who I
play
am.
along. I'm not going
Yeah.
to play along with something that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one thing that definitely came out of this is I talked to this with one of my cousins, talk about this with one of my cousins was that like also, it's interesting how you can be like a grown ass adult in person and in families like it's still hard for them to see you as like an adult. They still see you. I mean, I know it's a thing. Like even me, like I go back sometimes and I feel, like my younger self. We kind of revert back. I don't think it's always something that our family does to us. I think it's just kind of,
The patterns.
the patterns. Yeah. And if they haven't grown with you or updated, it can happen. Um, and that's true. I do think that they don't, know all of me. Like they only know a part of me or they and that's not their fault either. I mean, I think this is as challenging as it was. I'm glad that we did this and I am grateful for this opportunity because I think it has allowed me to just like breathe a little bit, like let go. It's kind of like I didn't realize how much it did weigh on me, even though there was a part of me that's like, well, even if I'm out here, I mean, even though I'm not having like these very specific conversations or open conversations with my family, they kind of they know it's out there, it's public, I'm for the most part, a lot of people know this about me, but I don't know. I realized that it's kind of like an app in the background that there was still a small part that did weigh on me. That even though it kind of was out, it still, I don't know. It still wasn't me fully being me and like living. There was a part of me that I think I was still kind of hiding and holding back and whatnot. And so it just is nice. It feels a little bit
Liberating to
freeing. Yeah, and
take
liberating
the
to.
mask off. Yeah.
And again, like even if whatever, like even if I don't know, like nothing else happens from on here, it was just nice to have that experience to see them. I liked the way that I showed up in the conversations with them. I felt like I was able to be an adult Melissa, even though there was still a part that's like, oh my God, I'm about to.
Nice. Good for
So,
you. I'm so
so
happy to
yeah,
hear it. I'm
that's
so
nice.
happy to hear that, like, it went well for the most part. And it's like movement towards like something greater, right?
Yeah,
Something greater for you and your family, something greater for the world also as we continue to sort of like unveil and
yeah,
take off the mask or like stop hiding in the closet or whatever, right? Like the more we show up as our authentic selves, the more the world has an opportunity to like
yeah.
grow and change too.
Yeah. And to your point, Wayne, like it's not even that, oh, now people really know about my non-monogamy. It's like not even about non-monogamy. It was more to like what you said, like, oh, now they know, or can see a little bit more that I am, have been a little bit of a rebel, even though it might come off as one way. It's like, no, there is a little bit of this,
Yeah. Well, because there's a side of
rebellion.
Melissa that had kids, got married, had kids, got a degree, got her master's degree, became a professional therapist. There's that side.
Yeah.
And then there's a part of Melissa that's like, I don't want to be a therapist. I don't want to be monogamous. Right. So it's nice to let your family see that side.
And that it I think it was nice also, equally that there were people who were rooting for us, and there are people who, I don't know, were just expressing their own like open-mindedness, and their, and it kind of spotlighted and brought that out too. People in the family who were like, yeah, I totally get this, or seeing the all of the possibilities and openness of relationships and things like that. So that was really nice too.
Yeah. Last night I went out with so my ex-wife flew into town. I picked her up from the airport and went out to dinner with my oldest son, her and I son together. And we were just talking about relationships and just and she was asking questions about me and Melissa, and she was asking questions about Nisha, and I thought it was pretty cool because the way she was asking was just very curious. It wasn't, in a way that judgmental, and it just felt really good to have a very open, honest conversation with her, especially after we had spent 8 years together, in our relationship, and I wasn't, very ethical at all within that relationship. And so just for us to be able to have the conversation in a way we can have it and talk about how we were back then. We can admit that we were young and just not knowing the things and not understanding fully what we were kind of embarking on at that time. It felt really good, and it felt good to know that it wasn't a problem that like, hey, I can go have dinner with my ex-wife and it's okay. There's no problem. There's no issue. Like, she can come in town. I can go pick her up from the airport. There's no problem, no issue. I can take her back to the airport. It's just all the things the freedoms that I have to still engage in a relationship that is a great person in my life and was and still is to this day, and I just think that's awesome that I have room in my relationship to still be able to have that, those relationships. And same with her, she's still able to have relationships that she's had in the past with exes or whatever, and I look at it like, man, if we're choosing these people and we say they're great people and we're moving and you trust me, like, why not trust my ability to have a friendship or relationship with these people who are still a part of my life, or I want them part of my life, just not in a way that it used to be, I guess, I always look at like, what is the problem with that? Unless there's something else going on that, we don't, but then we can talk about that. So it's still there. We're still good, So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that today.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right. Till next time.
Till next time. Thank you for listening. Shades of Pleasure podcast is currently unsponsored and is brought to you by Los Angeles Sex Therapy and Last Collective in partnership with Shades Therapy and Shades of Non-Monogamy. To support our endeavor so we can continue to bring this pleasurable content, please visit our Substack at shadesofpleasure.substack.com. Thank you for listening, and until next time.